Hello bookish friends, and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi and today we are doing my September wrap up. I know I haven't been doing sit down wrap up videos, but I decided not to do an October reset vlog this month because I don't have that much to reset, which is a good thing. But then I was like, well, like, should I tell people what I read in the month of September? And I was like, well, I don't even really like watching those videos anymore, but I had such a great reading month in September that I was like, I have to do this. So we're gonna make it quick, I promise. We are going to talk about the 10 books I read in the month of September, so let's get right into it. So if you've been watching me for a while, then you know that in the month of August, I've had one of my worst reading months probably ever. I read 4 books and ended up DNFing like 2 of those. I don't even remember. I started out September a little shaky with the first 3 books in this stack being DNFs, and I was like, oh shit, like, am I gonna get into a huge reading slump again? And then somehow, some way, the reading month took a turn and I ended up with 4 5-star books. So let's just get right into it. The first book I have here is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. This book was so long for no reason, and it doesn't look that long, but trust me, it is. The font is kind of tiny and it's almost 400 pages. This is 365 pages when it literally could have been 260 pages, 250. I'll even give it to 300, but it did not need to be 365 pages. At first I was really loving it, and then eventually it was just like the same shit over and over, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind if I read this. And I ended up DNFing it with 100 pages left because I was like, I don't care what happens. And yeah, this is basically about our main character, Delphi. It's hard to explain, but basically she like chokes on a piece of like a microwavable hamburger, goes to like the afterlife where she's greeted by like a death therapist. And while she's there, some guy like kind of like flatlines during a surgery, and she meets him and she's like, holy shit, this guy is my soulmate. And then he ends up going back to the real world and he's not actually dead. So she gets to make a deal and see if she can go back to real life and see if she can find this man within like 10 days to see if she can get him to fall in love with her and get him to kiss her. And if she does do that, she gets to go back to being alive. And if she doesn't, she has to go back to the afterlife. And honestly, it sounded perfect. It could have been a totally great book if it were just shorter, and I couldn't do it. So that's why I DNF'd this one. I'm gonna put this in my donate pile. Next, I have Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison, another DNF, which I'm so sad about. I listened to 80% of this book on audio, and you would think that I would just do the extra 20% and just listen, but I was like, no, I can't. I don't give a shit how this ends. This is basically about a girl who, her family is kind of in this cult that follows like some weird sort of god. What can I say about this without spoiling it? She basically left her life behind and kind of got out of this cult thing, and then she gets an invitation for a wedding for her ex like boyfriend who she's like still madly in love with. So she goes back to her crazy cult family and some weird shit just happens, and I just did not care. I really didn't. I'm so sad about this one because I did love Such Sharp Teeth by this author, but this one I just like couldn't get on board with, so I did end up DNFing this at 80%. Next, I have In the Weeds by BK Borison. Also bought this on audio, which I'm pissed about because I ended up just like not being able to get into it. I don't even know how far I got into this, but I listened to it for like an hour and literally never thought about it again and was like, I don't want to do that. I don't care what this is about. The only thing I know about this is a grumpy farmer and a no-nonsense social media influencer have another chance at love. I didn't care. I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't care. We're gonna donate her. We're also gonna donate Black Sheep. Forgot to mention that. So the first 3 books, not great. DNF them all. But then this is what turned the month around, and this is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I do have a dedicated reading vlog to this on my channel if you want to watch, but this is the book where Harry is entered into the Goblet of Fire games and has to defeat 4 different magical games and whatnot and deal with Voldemort and all this stuff. So I'm not going to talk too much about this, but I love this book. It did take me a while to read because it is a thick boy. This jump-started me back into my love for reading. Before this book, I was kind of like, oh my god, I'm hating everything I'm reading. Read this, gave it an instant 5-star, and then my reading game from here only went up. You heard me talk about this a lot in the Harry Potter reading vlog, so I won't talk about it too much here, but this was my favorite book in the series by far, and I like the book better than the movie for this one because I feel like a lot of the stuff in this book was cut out in the movie. And again, in that video I talk about it, and then I was saying how I understand why they cut some stuff out because they can't have a movie that's like 4 hours long, but like, how do you take Dobby out of the movies? I don't get it. But this was an immediate 5 stars. absolutely freaking love this. And then from there, I jumped into a reading vlog where I was trying to see if I could finish my September TBR by the end of the month, because after reading Harry Potter, I still had 6 books left on my TBR. So I was like, let me see if I can finish these all by the end of the month. And I did, starting with Mooncakes. I'm not even gonna try to say the author's names, but this is a graphic novel. And so one night, the main character, Nova, gets a call saying that somebody saw a werewolf in the woods. She goes to check it out. It ends up being her old friend, Pam, who is that werewolf. And then there's some evil monster in the woods that they have to try to defeat together. Nova's grandma, I think she lives with her grandmas. They're both witches, so it's just so cute. I'm telling you, this is so cute. I love this. Camera battery died mid-sentence. I forgot what I was saying, but I gave this an immediate 5 stars. I read this in one sitting. Obviously, it's a graphic novel, so that's like not hard to do, but I absolutely loved this book, and I love the illustrative style on this. And if you're looking for an extremely cute, cozy, romantic, coming-of-age story, graphic novel, this is the one. Then I immediately jumped into House of Shadows by Darcy Coates. This was a really good horror book. I always say that I'm kind of wishy-washy with Darcy Coates, and this was definitely a hit for me. This is about a girl, Sophie, who her dad kind of offers her a marriage of convenience because he goes bankrupt. Some handsome, strange, interesting guy comes and says, if you have your daughter marry me, I'll make sure you guys live the lavish lifestyle that you always have. She agrees and has to go live in his creepy mansion that's extremely isolated from everything. And once she gets there, her husband's family is very strange, and a lot of strange things are going on in this house, and she has to figure out what the hell she's gonna do. How am I gonna live here? How am I gonna make this long term? And she finds out what is actually wrong with this house and wrong with this family, and it is creepy. It is great. It is short. It is action-packed, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Okay, next is probably one of my most prized possessions of a book because I loved it so much. That is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. First of all, let's just admire this cover. How freaking cute does that little cottage look? And I love the lilac purple sprayed edges. This is the definition of a 6-star read for me. This is a cozy fantasy that follows our main character, Keela, who is fleeing the city where she is currently living and working at this like old library where basically the entire world knowledge lives. And she has a sentient spider plant who is like her familiar almost, and they flee the capital because the revolutionaries are burning everything to the ground. She takes a boat that she has been stockpiling with supplies to the island that she grew up on, and once she gets there, she realizes how much the outer islands are suffering, and she wants to help in any way she can. So she sets up a jam shop where she does sell jam, but she also uses little magical remedies and sells them as like just natural remedies to help the trees grow, help the mer horses give birth. It's so scary for her because magic is illegal on the outer islands, or only certain people can use it. So it's a little bit mysterious, a little bit romantic, a lot of cozy, and a lot of perfect. I gave this an immediate 5 stars, and this is definitely my favorite book from the month of September. Next, I read the 9th book in the Steele Brothers series. This is Unraveled by Helen Hart. If you know, you know. I'm not going to talk too much about the Steele Brothers series. It's a dark romance thriller series. It's a total of 28 books, and this is only book 9. Each character that it follows, like their main characters, get a set of 3 books. So this was the last book of Ryan and Ruby, and honestly I'm gonna miss the 2 of them. I like Ruby more than I like Ryan, and I like seeing Ruby's like character development over her 3 stories, and I love her. Talon is still my favorite, but we like Ryan too, I guess. No, I'm just kidding, I do like Ryan, but very excited to keep going on with this series because the next 3 books follow Majori, who is the sister, and we've only read from the Steele Brothers perspective, so I'm excited to see where this goes. This is definitely my 2nd favorite book in the series. The 1st book of the series is my all-time favorite. This is my 2nd favorite because you learned so much about like the main mystery plot of this series. So you found out a lot in this one, and it was action-packed, and I just ate up every second of this. I read this so quick and gave this an immediate 5 stars as well. Next, we have Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. I have no idea how to say this author's name, so somebody please tell me in the comments like the pronunciation on this, because I literally never say it right, or if I am saying it right, cool. I DNF'd this at 50 pages because I just like didn't care about the story and I couldn't get into it. I don't know. This author is not my favorite. I've read 2 other books from her and don't think I loved them. So I don't know what I was expecting going into this one, but this is basically this explores the eerie mysteries of childhood and the evils perpetrated by the monster among us. It goes back and forth between timelines. 2 of our main characters lived with their grandma, who was a psychiatrist, and one day she like brings home one of her patients and weird shit starts happening. She's basically evil. She probably ended up killing all these people. In the present time, the girl, Violet, changed her name to Lizzie. The brother changed his name, and I think she's like trying to figure out where their like adopted sister is. I don't know. I gave up 50 pages in because I was like, I don't like this. And then lastly, we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. If you watch the Finishing My TBR by the end of September video, you would know that I did not like this book at all. This was 500 pages of nonsense and boringness. I read the first like 120 pages physically and was like, if I keep reading this physically, I'm never gonna get through it. So I decided to buy the audiobook, which was freaking expensive. One thing to know about me is I refuse to buy audiobooks, especially if I physically own the book, because I hate wasting money on it, because I'm never gonna do anything with an audiobook besides listen to it the one time. But I was so desperate to get through this book that I was like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm buying the audiobook. Honestly, I'm happy to get this off my shelf because I don't like this. I will definitely not continue on with the series. I don't even know how to describe this book. Our main character, Poppy, is something called the Maiden, aka the Chosen One. Her parents died when she was young by a craven attack, which is almost like a werewolf, I don't know. But she also got attacked by a craven and survived it without any like issues. So she was considered the Maiden, and she had to kind of save the kingdom. There's a lot of rules that she has to follow. She can't like fall in love, she can't kiss anybody, she can't have sex, she can't do anything really. She gets a new like bodyguard almost, and obviously falls in love with him. They fall in love, some crazy shit happens, but not really. This whole book I was literally like, when do we get to the action? And literally the last sentence on some of the chapters is where like it'd be one sentence and you're like, oh shit. But then it would just go back to being boring. And honestly, the ending of this was not that great. I literally was like, okay, like I get it, it's okay, but it's not the best ending ever. Also not the worst, but I will definitely not continue on with this series, and we're gonna donate this bad boy. I also just realized I never told you what books I'm gonna donate, which ones I'm gonna keep and which ones I'm gonna put on my family shelf. So I'll sort through these now and let you know. The only book we're gonna put on our friends and family shelf is gonna be House of Shadows, because I liked it, but I don't love it enough to keep it on my favorite shelf, so my friends and family can borrow that. These books right here are all being donated. So I have The Love of My Afterlife, In the Weeds, whatever the hell it is, From Blood and Ash, Black Sheep, and Children on the Hill. And when I say donate these books, I have, sorry, I'm also losing natural daylight. I have a local indie bookstore near me that my mom's best friend's niece owns, and she loves taking my used books, but she gives me a credit to shop at her store. So I have a bin of books for her that I've been collecting over the months, and once it's full, I bring it to her. She looks through them, takes what she wants to take, and then she gives me a gift card for her indie bookshop, which I love doing that because I make something off of it and she benefits too. So these are all going to donation. These are the 4 books that are staying with me and nobody can borrow. I have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Obviously this is part of a series, so it has to stay with its siblings. Mooncakes I'm keeping because I love this. The Spell Shop, obviously I'm keeping, nobody can borrow that. And obviously Unraveled by Helen Hart also has to stay with its siblings. So those are all the books I read in the month of September. I read 10 books, 4 of which were 5-star, which I'm so stoked about. I don't think I've had a 5-star in like 2 months. I'm very excited about the reading month I had. And here's to an even better reading month in the month of October. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how many books you read in the month of September and what your favorite book you read in September was. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.